Have you ever said yes when every part of you was screaming no? Have you ever apologized for something that was never your fault? Have you ever left a conversation replaying every word, terrified you upset someone? If any of that sounds familiar, you are not broken. You were trained. And today, you are going to learn how people finally break that training, one habit at a time. People-pleasing rarely starts as an adult problem. It usually starts young, in a home where love felt conditional, where keeping the peace was safer than speaking up. Psychologist Harriet Breaker once described this pattern as a kind of disease to please, a compulsive need for approval that quietly runs a person's entire life. It is not kindness. Kindness is a choice. People-pleasing is a reflex born out of fear. Here is the first habit of people who finally broke the cycle. They stopped explaining themselves. Think about that for a second. How many times have you tacked on a nervous justification after saying no? I can't come, sorry, I just have so much going on, I promise it's not you. People who heal learn to say no and let the sentence end there. Silence after a boundary feels unbearable at first, but every time you resist the urge to over-explain, you send your nervous system a new message. You are allowed to take up space without earning it. Isn't it strange how much energy we spend managing other people's feelings about our own decisions? The second habit is noticing the body before the mind catches up. Chronic people-pleasers often feel resentment as a stomachache before they recognize it as anger. Therapist and researcher Nedra Tawwab, who has spent years studying boundaries, points out that resentment is usually the alarm bell telling you a boundary was crossed long before you consciously admit it. People who break the cycle start listening to that alarm instead of pushing through it with a smile. Picture a woman named Sarah, a nurse in her early 30s. For years, she picked up every extra shift because she couldn't say no to her manager. Her jaw ached constantly. Her sleep fell apart. It wasn't until a doctor asked her almost casually, "When was the last time you said no to something?" that she realized she couldn't remember. That question became the beginning of her healing. The third habit is separating disappointing someone from hurting someone. This distinction changes everything. If a friend is upset because you couldn't attend their event, that is disappointment. It's uncomfortable, but it passes. If you lied to someone or broke a promise carelessly, that is harm, and it deserves repair. People who finally break the cycle stop treating every disappointed reaction as proof that they did something wrong. If this is landing for you right now, this might be a good moment to like this video, subscribe, and drop a comment below saying, "I'm learning my no." It helps more people find their way here, and honestly, it helps you remember this moment too. The fourth habit is choosing discomfort over resentment. This one is hard to hear. Setting a boundary almost always feels worse in the moment than staying silent. Your chest tightens, your voice shakes, but resentment left unspoken doesn't disappear. It leaks out sideways, in sarcasm, in exhaustion, in slowly disappearing from relationships altogether. People who heal learn to tolerate the short discomfort of honesty instead of the long, slow poison of silent anger. What does silence actually cost you when you really think about it?
The fifth habit is redefining what makes a good person. Many people-pleasers carry a quiet belief that their worth is measured by how useful, agreeable, or convenient they are to others. Author Brené Brown has spent decades researching shame and worthiness, and one of her central findings is that true belonging never requires you to negotiate away who you are. A good person can disappoint others. A good person can have limits. A good person can rest without guilt. Letting go of the old definition is often the deepest part of the work. There is a well-documented moment in the life of Anne Frank, who, even hidden away and terrified, wrote in her diary about wanting to be liked, and slowly, painfully learning to trust her own judgment over the fear of what others thought of her. Healing from people-pleasing is not new. It is one of the oldest, quietest battles a person can fight, often invisible from the outside. The sixth habit, and maybe the most important one, is tolerating being misunderstood. When you stop performing for approval, some people will get it wrong. They may call you cold, or different, or difficult. That reaction is often less about you and more about how comfortable they had become with the old version of you, the one who always said yes. People who finally break the cycle learn to sit with being misunderstood by a few in exchange for finally being known by the people who actually matter. Why do we fear being misunderstood more than we fear disappearing into someone else's expectations? None of this happens overnight. It happens in small, repeated moments. A hesitation before automatically agreeing. A pause where you used to apologize. A no that doesn't come with 3 paragraphs of justification. Each one is small. Together, they rebuild a person from the inside out. If you recognize yourself somewhere in this video, in the over-explaining, in the stomach aches, in the fear of being difficult, take that as information, not as a flaw. It means you learn to survive by shrinking. And now you get to learn something new. You get to learn how to stay. So here is the question to sit with tonight. Where in your life today are you saying yes when your whole body is quietly asking you to say no? Start there. Not with a dramatic confrontation, just with one honest sentence said out loud to the right person at the right moment. That single sentence might be the first thread in a completely different life.